Hello all and welcome to a video in which I am calling Operation Shelf Rejig, a kind of one-off vlog if you will, because that time has come that I knew was coming and I was preparing for, because as many a collector who knows about room and lack of it to house a full collection, future proofing is something you kind of have to prepare for, and I've had it in mind and I've now reached that phase where I really have to consider it and start making room if I want to get my full Xbox 360 PAL collection into the room and on display, which is something that I obviously really want. So when I first moved into this premises I'm currently in, I bought two of these units. As you'll see, they're side by side, and I did my math straight away and I knew exactly how many games that I would be getting in there, so that I knew that in the future what sort of problems that I would be presented with. Now these two units, as you'll see, they're 6 wide by 7 holes high, and that maths means there are 42 spaces, and each one of these spaces holds, well, it holds 19, but actually there's 18 in this hole, which is a little bit looser and a little bit nicer. So a lot of these at the moment I've got 18 games in, but they hold 19 games and 19 games comfortably. Yeah, it's a little bit tight, but it's not putting any undue pressure on the game. So having 19 in there is not an issue. It's just obviously at the moment, while I have got some room, it's a lot easier just to put 18 in there and then you can get in and out of them much quicker. But as I say, I did my maths and I knew these units would only hold 798 games when full. Even though I haven't got an exact figure for the Xbox 360 PAL set, I know it is a little over 1200, so we're talking we are way off fitting a full set into these two units. But you know, I had ideas in mind. Obviously there's space on top of the shelves here at the moment. It's got loads of collectibles on there. It's got loads of my gear stuff because I love my gears. I collect Gears of War stuff, so that stuff's on there as well. And then we've got a few Funko Pops of stuff that I really love. I love the Toy Story franchise. I am collecting Toy Story Funkos. That's why there's a few of those there. I love horror movies, so we've got a very small, humble collection of 3 Funko Pops to do with horror. There's the Hardy Boys there because I love wrestling and Jeff Hardy's my favourite wrestler of all time. So the Hardy Boys are my favourite tag team of all time. They're there, and I'm a big fan of fighting games. So we've got a few fighting Funko Pops there, plus X-Men vs Street Fighter on the Sega Saturn, which is a Japanese version of the game, which is a very awesome, kind gift from my good friend Beth Bear. So we've got the problem of future proofing has now arisen. I mean, obviously when I got these two units, I only had like 400 games, so I was future proof for a good couple of years, which is basically where we're at now. And a lot of the gaps had games facing forward to take up space, which is what's happening here with Gears of War 2 and what's happening down here with the Spyro game. So they were there to take up a little bit of room. But as you'll see, I've now got a pile of games here on the floor that are ready to go in the wall. Another one of those is not going to be faced outwards. And some of these gaps, which I only have 18 in, are probably going to come 19 as well. I've always had them in mind to have 19 in, so that's not an issue. But obviously, the idea and why I said about this stuff on the top is I could put games on tops with a couple of bookends. I know there's some gaming bookends which are from Mortal Kombat Collector's Edition, which has Scorpion spearing through whatever you put in the middle through Sub-Zero at the other end. So I thought that would be cool to perhaps try and source some of those and then put a few games up there, the first few letters of the alphabet, because obviously these are all alphabetized, otherwise it'd be a nightmare to find them quickly. But another idea I've always had in mind as well is down here. I've always had the Connect stuff last. The Connect stuff starts, where are we, about here. So as you see, the Connect stuff at the moment is taking up 3 holes and a bit. I also collect import stuff as well to do with the 360, so I've got some of them in mind as well. They are actually on the floor down here. That's all my import stuff there. I'm only going for exclusives, but I have got a couple of non-exclusives there at the moment. And again, while there's room for those, they will stay out and on the shelf. Another idea I have to get rid of a few games from the shelves that can go into other storage is what I've been doing up to now is I actually collect bundle copies. So we'll pick on the Borderlands and Borderlands 2 one here. Obviously, got that on the shelf at the moment. I do collect the double packs, but they're not really part of the PAL set as such with regards to just getting the game, because obviously I've got Borderlands 2. You're counting that as another game when you've got the 2 games there. So what I'm planning to do now as well is I'm not getting rid of these. I'd never get rid of these. As I say, I collect, cover variants, and I do collect double packs, but they're going to go into a separate box now, a little crate that actually is designed to hold DVD style cases and sort of slip in another room and sort of be off display, but they're still going to be about and in my collection. I mean, DLC packs like this are very different, so they will be staying out here. So I'm going to remove all of the double packs and they're going to go into another container as well. So that will create loads of room. So final idea what I've got to do here is, again, going back to the Connect ones, which taken up 3 and a bit holes, is actually remove them and have them in a separate storage area. Now that storage area is over here. Now I have been collecting PlayStation Platinums, which is why you'll see a lot of these little cubby holes full of PlayStation Platinum games. And of course there's some black labels, there's a row of Dreamcast, and there's a row of PS2 at the bottom, because with the PS2 I collect compilations and fighting games, so that is why they are there. But what I've decided what I'm going to do with this, now I was going to get a full set of PS1 Platinums, but there's so many PS1 Platinums that I just won't play because, you know, the games aren't for me and things like that. So I'm not going to go for the full PS1 Platinum set anymore. So I'm going to remove the ones that I don't want anymore, and I'm going to keep the ones that obviously that I will play at some point and games that I really like. Now, one idea I had with those, again, is to put them sort of horizontally on top of here. But what we're going to be doing with this shelf now is we're clearing it all, and we're going to have this as sort of a Connect corner. And we're going to put all the Connect games in here. And I know you're thinking, how are they going to fit? These shelves aren't really big enough, and they're not. But as you'll see, we've got little holes here, and you can adjust these shelves and have them so that they fit DVD style cases, with the exception of the top shelf there, which has just got a few collectibles in it, and there's the turtle stuff on top of it, which will probably stay there for now. But that is, again, space I could use for games and stack horizontally if I needed it. So that top row has to stay at the size it is, which is perfectly fine, because I love the Dreamcast, and I have a set of Dreamcast games, not many here, that are games that I will go back to and play regularly, and that's all I'm ever getting for the Dreamcast, just games that I will frequently play, and frequently play only, not occasionally play, frequently play, no one-off plays. If I buy a Dreamcast game, it's a one-off play now, you know, it gets played and then it gets moved on. And in fact, one of those games is actually going to be going perhaps two. So as I love the Dreamcast and I want those Dreamcast ones out and on display, and probably will never grow beyond the space of the shelves that I've got, they're going to go in the top. Now the PS2 games will probably come out, but they may remain there if I don't have enough to fill the shelves at the moment. But as I say, this is going to be Connect Corner. I think the Connect's got just over 100 titles for it. So the Connect games can come out of this wall here and go over here into their own little Connect Corner. And then, of course, if the Connect games don't fill all of this up, then these import games here, which don't have a home, can finally go in there as well. So that's what's going to happen there. So we're going to pull out all the PlayStation stuff, slim it down to what we will play. I mean, some of the black labels will remain as well. Slim it down to what we play, move on what we don't play, make some money, and then obviously that money can go into this collection over here, and so on. Obviously, in between that, we do have a DVD sort of stand holder, and that is where the Xbox One games that I have got go. I'm not really collecting for the Xbox One games, but if they're cheap enough or they're a game I really want, I will buy them in physical form. Unfortunately, on top here, we've got like a few that just don't fit into the holes. And also at the bottom here, we have my Gears of War variants, basically, because I love the Gears of War so much. I want to collect all regions, all variants of cover art. So, you know, they're in there at the moment. Now, this could become an Xbox One tower sort of exclusively. And if I'm making DVD size holes there, and I've got the room until we run out again, sort of future-proofing in mind, they can go in there for now. There's a couple of random original Xbox games there that can come out and go elsewhere. I will probably keep Burnout 3, but Red Dead Revolver may get moved on. And as I say, there's those import games that need to go in the shelf. A couple of those aren't NTSC exclusives, but while I've got the room, they could go in the shelf and fill it up. And then obviously they will never get sold, but they will get put into one of those containers and not be on display. So I think I've covered everything with what I plan to do with this area here. I think for many of you, this is probably the first time you may have actually seen sort of the collection like this in all of its glory. I have had a lot of requests to do an updated Xbox 360 PAL collection video. I'm not ignoring people. That is in my mind to get done. But I think this Operation Shelf rejig needs to be done first. And that is what I'm going to crack on with now. I was going to say, there's a pile of games there to be sorted, cleaned, delabeled and all that sort of stuff. And they need to go into the wall as well. And as I say, Connect stuff's coming out, go into that corner, take the PS1 games out. Got a busy time ahead of me. The only thing I'll say is, like, I don't know if anything's going to go up there now, but it's an idea for the future. Unfortunately, I rent, and in my agreement is I really am not allowed to put any holes in the wall, like to put shelves up or even hang a picture. So that is a problem that I've got. I mean, I can always get another one of these DVD racks and put it in that gap there, but I don't really want to block that plug socket too much. So I've always got ideas in my mind, because future-proofing is definitely a thing. Anyway, I think I've gone on for long enough here at the beginning. I think it's time for Operation Shelf Rejig to actually get put into action. So here we go. Okay, so I have reached the midway point of Operation Shelf Rejig, or so I think. So I thought I'd do a bit of a progress update before we see the final results. So as you'll see on the floor here, we do have all of the PlayStation 1 games that were in that corner there, in the two small units. They're all on the floor ready to be sorted into the ones that I want to keep and the ones that I'll be moving on to help fund the 360 collection. In the middle here, we've got all the Kinect games. They've come out of their holes. There's exactly 60 games there, which is more than I thought I actually had. Over here we've got all of the multi-packs, the double packs and everything like that. There's only 11 there, but there is a 12th one here. That being a Gears of War variant though, however, will go in amongst the Gears of War variants there and hopefully stay on display as part of that collection. But all of these double packs and bundle packs and all that sort of stuff will be going into the container that I spoke about earlier. This is one of the containers I have. I do actually have a couple more as well for overflow. And in here is all sort of variants of stuff that I've already owned. So, you know, promo copies and things like that. That one at the front there is actually Alien versus Predator, but a regular copy of it, because in the wall I do actually have the steelbook, so it can be used for things like that. That, by the way, is a beautiful steelbook. I absolutely love that, and that was a gift from my good friend Nath Retro One a couple of years back, and really grateful of it. Absolutely beautiful steelbook. Love it to bits. So yes, that's all the bundle stuff. Next to it, we do have the pile of import games that were in the corner there. They've come out ready to be homed properly. And then, of course, next to it is still that pile of games that needs to be catalogued, de-stickered and cleaned, waiting to go into the wall of 360. So as I said, the PlayStation 1 games are out, which means this corner unit is clear. The shelves have been moved. There was a slight snag, but we'll get to that in a second. Up here is exactly what I said I'd do. That is all of the Dreamcast games that were in that row down the bottom there. As I say, that row is probably never going to get overfull because it's only going to be stuff I regularly play. Two of those may come out. One of them actually definitely will. So one will definitely come out. One may come out. But as you'll see, we've got a DVD size hole here, and a hole here. Now, when I was moving the shelves around, I didn't actually realise, or I'd forgot that this was a fixed shelf, obviously given away by the fact it's got screw holes here covered with caps on the side here, so that one doesn't move, but not a problem, I thought, because it's DVD sized hole. The problem then came when I started moving around these ones at the bottom. Obviously we've got DVD sized hole, DVD sized hole, and even though this moved down slightly, it's only big enough to put a CD in, which is a bit of a bugger, because, you know, it's not going to kind of look uniform and neat when I have all the DVD stuff in there to have a random row of CD sized games. That's just going to annoy me a little bit. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to annoy me a little bit. But I did realise there is a bit of a solution to it. I mean, if we can get this Lego Rock Band here just to stay in there, stand upright, as you'll see, this gap here, if we use Madden to help us, isn't big enough to put a DVD game in. But if you remove the shelf, you can actually get two rows stacked on top of each other. So there's a future-proofing idea there, should I then need to do that. So let's pull them back out again. Just a little bit annoying, but I say I've got 60 Kinect games, and I've worked out you get about 10 in a hole thanks to having the PS2 ones in the holes down there. So you get 10 in a hole. So I'm going to fill up those exactly with Kinect games, I believe. And then we're going to have these here. I'm going to leave them as they are for now, because obviously I haven't got any more Kinect games, and I believe that space there is going to be enough for my imports and my Gears of War collection, which are going to go in there for now. So I'm just going to put some sort of collectibles and bits like I had in the very top row where the Dreamcast games are now to fill that out, because I hate empty shelving holes. I always think it looks a tiny little bit unsightly, so that's what I'm going to do with that. But we have a plan ahead. I was going to say everything is out, everything is getting sorted, and I think we are now going to be approaching the final stage, which is basically getting everything into place and having Operation Shelf Rejig complete. So the final part of this vlog will be the final result, and hopefully I'll be reporting with everything in its place as I wanted, even with that little hitch. And hopefully, yeah, hopefully it'll be all sorted and all done and all nice and a little bit more future-proofed how I would want it. So, yep, I'll get that sorted and present the final piece to you in what will be for you a couple of seconds. Okay, so Operation Shelf Rejig is complete, and I have to say I'm very happy with it. It's looking much more neat and tidier. It's well organised, and of course, more importantly, we have future-proofed for a bit longer, and we have not got to worry about future-proofing for quite a bit of time now. Yes, As you'll see, there are many more facing forwards. When I started this with all the Connect games down here at the bottom row, which have now been removed and put into Connect Corner, I've got many more facing forwards, and each one facing forwards means there's room for 9 more games within these units, because if they're facing forward, they take up the equivalent of 9 games, because in each one of these holes, if there's one facing forward, there's 10 games, and as I said earlier, you can actually fit 19 games in one hole. But the good thing about this is where I've done it and put them all out, spread them all out again, each one of these holes doesn't actually have 19 in it. It has one less. So each hole actually has room for at least one game. In fact, this one up here is even looser. There's 17 in here, so there's room for 2 in there. But each hole has room for at least one game, and if there's a game facing forwards, that means it has room for at least 9. And as you'll see, I've got 3 games facing forward on the top row, 1 on the second, 3 on the third, 1 on the fourth, and 1 a bit further down. Now, I must admit, I have been very selective about the ones I've had facing forwards. They've either got to be something that I really like, a cover that I really think is beautiful, certainly in El Shaddai there. Fan of horror, so we've gone for Fear 2 facing forward. Love how demonic that girl there at the top of that case looks. Stuff that I'm a massive fan of, which is fighting games, so we've gone for Dead or Alive there, and then Injustice, and of course, favourite franchise of all time, Gears of War, so that one's facing forward. And in fact, that Sonic lenticular cover there is quite beautiful. It's quite an uncommon cover as well. That one had to face forward. Absolutely loved that. Now, there's only one sort of in the bottom half facing forward, because I kind of went for stuff that is facing eye level. Obviously, if it's at eye level, you're going to see it more and appreciate it more. And I love having them facing forward. So that's the only thing about collecting more and then having one that's facing forwards, then not be facing forwards. Obviously, it's another cover art loss that you're not going to see. So it's really nice when it's like this. So it's almost awesome that I've had to do this future proofing thing, and I'm going to have some more facing forward for a bit. Anyway, let's address what happened to the corner here, because obviously all the PlayStation 1 games have gone and they're not even on display anymore. I must admit, I've halved the amount of PlayStation 1's games that I'm now going to be keeping. 45, I think, was the total I counted that were up for grabs. Now, what I was thought about doing with the PlayStation 1 games is having piles of them here horizontally so that they were out on display and obviously available for me with regular ease to get if should I want to play them. However, when I started putting them all there, in fact I put like 5 rows of them there, all stacked about 12 or 13 high, and I just didn't like the look of it. I thought it kind of took away from the room and it was a little bit bland and a little bit dull, and I'd lost all the colour from having my figure collections that are up there on display. Yeah, there's been a little bit of alterations here, because what I've done is the Hardy Boys double pack that was there has gone on display somewhere else behind me. The Toy Story stuff is untouched, but I kind of want to have this area a little bit open and free so that I can put a little bit more effort into collecting the horror figures, which is what I want to do. And obviously I've only just got the 3 Funko Pops at the moment. I must admit the Harley Quinn stuff may stay here though, because I do like Harley Quinn, favourite DC character by a long shot. And then I've got just this other stuff here that's basically just filling the space at the moment. But the idea is to have a little horror section there, because I really do like my horror. So I'd like more horror figures, and I love my Toy Story, so I might get a few more of those as well. The Gears of War side, totally untouched. Love my Gears of War stuff. Got to keep me Xbox 360 Gears of War special edition there with all the collector's editions and all the figures that I do have. You know, I would love to add some more. Love to add some sort of non-Funko Pop, more realistic ones to this side at some point as well, and really sort of build that up a little bit. But I must say this wall of Xbox 360 here, all power without the Kinect stuff, you know, is looking awesome. I'm really loving that now. And in fact, with me future proofing and thinking like that now, we've actually left even more space here, because there's a couple in the next pickups video which are both going to end up in that space there. So we're already thinking ahead for that as well. But yeah, future proofing is always something that I've got in mind, always have had. Okay, let's have a look at what was Connect Corner. Now, we know all about the Dreamcast games there at the top. I think earlier I said that each one of these holes holds 10 games. That's the word, holds 10 games. And obviously I had 60, so that fit nicely into these top 6 holes here, and so I thought. But I also had that pile on the floor that needed sorting out, and I actually had one Connect game in there which I'd forgotten about, and that was this Sonic the Free Rider. So I popped that into that, and that's actually 11. So each one of these holes actually fits 11 perfectly, which is good now, because I can buy up to 5 Kinect games and sort of move them around and then not go above those 6 holes for now, because obviously We filled up these ones here because we don't have that many Kinect games to absolutely fill the whole thing full. That is obviously what may happen in the future, but it's become a good place for me to put my import games, and obviously I'll put my Gears of War collection there as well for now. So yep, got the import games there. I've got one facing forward at the moment because obviously, like I said, I don't like empty shelving space, and having one facing forward is always great to look at the cover art. So with the import stuff, I am only going to be collecting the exclusives or anything that has a stackable achievement list. There are a couple of games amongst this lot that don't fit that criteria. However, while I've got the space out here and it needs filling up, then they'll be out here. They may join that container full of promos and double packs, which I've now accumulated in another room at a later date. But for now, they can go on this, and it's going to say fill up some shelf space because I don't like empty shelf space amongst my collection, which is why the Gears of War collection's here as now. I mean, these holes may expand into all import stuff, or the import stuff that I've got here might come down, and the Kinect set might branch down into another row. But basically, you know, these are nice pieces to have on display. But as I say, I just collect Gears of War variants. I've got, you know, one of each Gears game behind me in this wall here, so I don't need them out with regards to access and playing them. So these may at some day also end up in that box full of accumulated cover variants and double packs that I put all the double packs in from, you know, the ones that I removed from the wall here earlier. But the idea of this tower, as I say, is to fill it up all full of Kinect games and use the import games to take up the room that I don't have. The import games are going to say, if this all gets full up with Kinect games and them needing to go somewhere else, might be a future problem, which I already have an idea for. But I was going to say, I've also got the PlayStation 2 games down here have stayed here for now. That's all me fighting games and me compilations. That's all I really collect for the PlayStation 2. The stuff that I'm likely to want to use and play. One random OG Xbox game there, but that's Outrun 2. I do have an OG Xbox here. The Outrun 2 is actually backwards compatible on the Xbox 360. So if you've got Outrun 2, you can play it on your 360. That's how it ended up there to start with. I've got an OG Xbox now anyway. Might actually pick up a few exclusives for the OG Xbox as well, the ones that really interest me again that I will want to play over and over again. But again, while I've got the shelf space and it's not full of connecting imports, they're going to stay there. They may get rehomed at some point. Should this all get full up with Kinect games, I always thought that the import games could then take over this tower and the Xbox One games could go somewhere else. And even this tower of Xbox One games, which is where they're going to stay now because I do love my Xbox, is a little bit future proof. We've got one hole at the top here which I've left purposely in case I get an A or a number, and then I haven't got to move too many games to get them in alphabetical order. I haven't got to move them all down to create a gap at the top, you know. But we've got plenty of gaps at the bottom. Like I said, I don't like open shelving space. However, with this being open and not sort of bright white or anything like that, it's not bothering me too much. So that is okay. So Kinect Corner's taken a nice shape. I haven't touched on the problem shelves in the middle, the ones that can be removed and you can have DVD cases stacked on top of each other. But I've used them now to make a couple of nice little displays that I really like. I must admit, I'm really pleased with this. I did have a thought to fill this full of PlayStation 1 games, ones that I'm going to regularly revisit or perhaps want to revisit frequently. But I went with this. I put me X-Men vs Street Fighter that was on top of the 2 units behind here in there alongside Ryu, because like he's pretty much been my main in all forms of Street Fighter games from day one. And then over here, the PlayStation 1 games that managed to avoid being put in a cupboard in another room are my 3 Tekkens, and with my Nina Williams Funko Pop, because she's been my main in Tekkens pretty much from day one as well. Those Tekkens there, the 2 and 3, are actually the ones that I got back in the day. They're my copies, are absolutely mint and everything's in there. That slim black one there is actually a Tekken 3 Collector's Edition demo disc. So they're obviously alongside Nina Williams. And I think that's it. I was going to say, we'll have another little pan back. And I have to say, it's been a day's worth of work, believe it or not, shifting things around and a couple of snags along the way. But I'll tell you what, I've enjoyed it. It's great sorting it out. And for me, the end result has been really worth it. As I say, Xbox 360 is my main passion in gaming. I really do love the system. You know, I do love all games, but the Xbox 360 is just top of my list. And I'm really, really proud of it. I was going to say, I'm proud of my own collection. As you know, and this is what I'm happy. I love having it there and just being able to see it and look at it. And don't worry, the collection video is coming. I have had a lot of requests. I know I've already mentioned it one before, but I've had a lot of requests for an updated collection video. The last time I did one, I had just over 400 games. And if I do the Connect games and the import games as well, I did the Connect games last time, then we've got around about 750. So we've got like 350 extra games to show from, compared to the last video. So an update video has been requested by a lot of people. It will be getting done in the near future. Stay tuned for that. But for now, it's just time for me to thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, hitting a thumbs up would be awesome. If you're new to the channel and tuning in for the first time and you liked what you see, feel free to subscribe. If you have enjoyed it, why not tell a friend? And all that jazz, please comment below. Do love a little bit of genuine interaction. But finally, as always, please do take care.